Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. Quick info before we begin. Today's video has two stories and both of them have updates. Now the warning with the second story is that there is mention of homophobia. So if that's a topic you're uncomfortable with, you might want to skip that story. Now let's get started. This post is from the subreddit Relationship Advice and it's by user Deleted. My 27 male fiance, 27 female, climaxed during a routine spa massage and I wish he had not told me about it. My 27 male fiance, 27 female likes to treat herself to a spa day once or twice a month. Massage, sauna, mani-pedi, the whole works. I've always loved that she pampers herself this way. She came back from the spa this past weekend and said that she had to tell me something. She had an unexpected orgasm during her massage from a male masseur. She assured me there was absolutely no genital or sexual contact whatsoever, and I believe her. It was just a regular massage, she didn't even feel anything building up, and there was just a sudden and intense release. She said she was mortified. She always climaxes quite loudly, and I would imagine the surprise also boosted her volume. Ended the massage right there and came straight home, skipping other spa treatments she had planned. I told her thanks for telling me and that she did nothing wrong and that I love her very much. I definitely appreciate her spirit of honesty and I would hate for her to feel any guilt or shame, but I really wish she would have just kept this one to herself. Nobody involved did anything inappropriate. My fiancé was just getting a massage as she always does and the masseur was just a professional doing his job, exceptionally well apparently. All I'm left with is the knowledge that another man made the woman I'm going to marry climax in a way she never has before, and I have no one and nothing to be mad at, nothing to complain about, no emotional recourse at all. I just have to get over it. Any tips on how I can do that as soon as possible? Well, OP, first of all, congratulations on keeping a cool and rational head about this whole incident. You didn't spiral or have a meltdown about how she's gonna cheat on you with any guy that touches her lower back or anything like that. Good for you. And by the way you mentioned she reacted, she might actually stop going to massages altogether, which would kinda suck her not getting a massage considering she loves it so much, so this is why I think you're looking at it the wrong way. You see, instead of trying to forget about this, turn it into a positive, man, and start learning everything you can about giving a good massage. You could even turn it into a couples thing, you know, in the name of reciprocity. The way I see it, you've basically been giving a cheat code to improve your intimacy life, not just yours or your partner's, but the relationships. So here's my train of thought. There are a lot of studies out there that promote parent and newborn skin-to-skin contact, to improve the relationship. It releases oxytocin, prolactin, and endorphins. So it is a positive, and I'm going to assume transitivity between two consenting adults that love each other that have skin-and-skin contact. Hence why a good massage from your partner is so awesome. Now add to that what you both know about your future wife and it can only be a positive. So yeah, OP, it's all about how you look at it. You see this knowledge as being some sort of a burden and, eating at your insecurities, or you can turn it into a positive. And if I were you, I'd focus on the latter. And what do you guys think about this whole situation? What would you do and how would you react if this happened to you? Let me know in the comment section if you want to share, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they have to say. Pete Squared 41 says, I once got a massage from a very strong, much older woman, but there was zero attraction between her and I. At one point, I fell asleep. When I woke up, I had a raging boner. There was no hiding this fact, as she saw the utter embarrassment run across my face. She said, don't worry about it, happens all the time. We don't always have controls of our vehicles, man. There is nothing metaphysical about your fiance's experience. It's a random thing that happened and it sounds like it really bothered her too. Another user that's allergic to vowels says, hey, so it sounds like this was a really embarrassing, uncomfortable, and unwanted experience for your fiance. So keep up with being present for her, comforting her, and taking care of her. This is a weird one. If it were me, I'd feel completely ashamed and disgusting to have orgasmed accidentally by a person other than my person. That being said, man, have you had time to really sit and feel this out? Have you vented these feelings? You aren't wrong for feeling or thinking things you don't cognitively agree with. Sometimes we can't control our thoughts and feelings and can only experience and later respond to them. You're a human being too, and you feel too. You can feel these feelings through and still choose to act kindly and helpfully towards your lover. Maybe you need to sit with this for a minute. Accept that it is there, make time for it, and feel it in your body. Try to passively observe it and sink into it. Express it physically. Maybe you just need to get through it. And OP responds, yeah, she is completely horrified and she keeps apologizing. I'm doing everything I can to reassure her that I am not mad or upset and that it wasn't her fault and she did nothing wrong. What I don't want to do is burden her with what I'm really feeling. To be honest, I'm embarrassed to even talk about it, even with my close friends. And I wouldn't reveal something like that about her to anyone anyways. I don't know the extent to which I've begun processing this, but I've definitely been feeling it pretty hard. Wildlife Policy Chick says, quote, all I'm left with is the knowledge that another man made the woman I'm going to marry climax in a way she never has before. Stop right there. Another man didn't make her orgasm. She herself had an orgasm. These things happen. If there was anything personal about the rando massage therapist that made her orgasm, she would have told you, or not told you at all. Please don't take this personally is my point. Have you ever gotten an erection out of nowhere? And by out of nowhere, I mean thoughts or seeing a beautiful person or anything. Have you ever orgasmed in your sleep or in the shower or any other random how did that happen? Again, I don't think you should take this personally. In fact, if you can drop your ego, maybe this is a plaything you two can explore. Within reason, of course. Your fiancé is a sexual person. She got aroused and she told you about it. Don't be one of those guys who take a physical response as a blow to your ego. My 2 cents. CamJam16 says, if I were you, anytime these thoughts come up, just repeat a mantra to yourself. She's just as upset as I am. She didn't want this. She left immediately. She's the type of girl to immediately tell me if something like this happens, which is a good thing. Add whatever you need to that. You'll get over it eventually, man. Good luck. Additional information from OP's comments. Obviously, I want her to trust me, and I'll never tell her that I'd rather not have known. Also, someone pointed out, and I agreed, that if it was a female masseuse, I would probably have laughed it off. Now, I thought about there being something she was not telling me, but it didn't make sense because why say anything at all? Truth trickling mostly happens when a significant other finds out independently and excuses have to be made, not when someone openly tells their partner that something happened. Also, she's had male masseurs before, and I've never had a problem with it. I trust her implicitly, and punishing her in a jealous way is a pathetic move. Alright, well, the community gave OP some pretty interesting points to think about, and apparently OP is okay with everything, he just needs to work through it. So now, let's move on to the update to see how this story ends, but of course before that, here's another one of my playlists that you can enjoy after this video. Now let's get to the update. The response to my first post was pretty overwhelming. It has since hit a cap and locked, so I figured I would post an update in case anyone still cared. Some remarks after thinking on it for a few more days, reading everyone's advice, and finally talking things over with my fiancé. So, the premise of my original post was unbelievably selfish. I wished she hadn't told me anything because I was hurting and I had no recourse to fix how I felt. It was information I would have been happy to just not have in my life. What I didn't do was consider her own need to confide and find comfort in me after a deeply humiliating experience that she feared might damage our relationship. I'm profoundly ashamed of myself for this. I've managed to internalize that it was a knee-jerk physiological response to external stimuli and nothing more. I know she would never have consciously invited it, but I suppose in the corner of my mind I was agonizing over if it had been a my mind telling me no but my body telling me yes situation, capped by intense post-release shame. I'm satisfied now that this was not the case, and I'm embarrassed at what essentially amounts to a small but pernicious lapse of trust. I thought I had been putting on a brave face the past few days, but she said she could tell my mind has been off somewhere else, that I haven't been distant, but I haven't been totally present either, together with my own mental load, reassuring me my aloofness has been killing her, which in turn is now killing me. Also, they're called massage therapists, not masseurs, mea culpa. A lot of you told me to drill down and explore what exactly it was that was bothering me about the incident. I've been doing some soul searching, but at least for now, I don't think the answer is that complicated. My soon-to-be wife was brought to orgasm, however innocently, by the hands of another man. It wasn't on purpose and it's just the human body, yada yada. But the fact remained that he hit the right note and turned the right key for her body. That really hit me. Chalk it up to ego or fragile masculinity or whatever. It is what it is. Emotion trumped logic and I'm an insecure idiot. She said she would stop going to that spa and find another. I told her that wouldn't be necessary for my sake. It's her favorite spa both in terms of proximity and amenities, but she's insisting. I told her to try another one and if it doesn't stack up, to go back to her usual one. She's also worried that word may have gotten around and she doesn't want to show her face there anyways. I told her that was probably not likely, but it was up to her. Either way, she will not be booking with that same person again. It's been a weird week during which we haven't had sex. We typically do it frequently. That's been really hurting her because she took it to mean that I didn't want her physically anymore or that I didn't see her body as mine to touch. She's been crying at work about it and it makes me so sad to think that my body language or demeanor made her feel that way. We both called in sick for work today and I spent the entire day disabusing her of that notion, all over our house. A small whine, if I may. It doesn't come as a huge surprise, but a lot of people on here are straight up a-holes. I was in a pretty raw place and a bunch of you were just clowning around about the love of my life. I know it's the internet, but practice a little more compassion, please. Finally, I can't wait to marry this woman and call her my wife. Well, P, I still think you need to do a massage course, maybe her as well. I don't think you need to become a licensed massage therapist to include this in your intimate life, you know, for the disabusing, as you so elegantly put it. Anyway, just saying, could come in handy. And about how things played out, I think they played out just fine. You guys were able to talk about it, you expressed your feelings, and are very open to taking care of each other's feelings. So that's great. So here's hoping the best for the both of you in the future. I hope your wedding is amazing and you guys have an awesome life. Take care, OP, and thank you for sharing. Now, let's move on to the next post that also has an update. This post is from the subreddit Am I the A-hole, and it's by user A Water Please. Am I the a-hole for going on a vacation with my wife's family instead of my own? Background: my family has always been well off, and by that I mean like we would take family vacations 2 to 3 times per year. It's still like that now, but I've noticed a difference in how my family acts now that my female 27 wife, female 24, and I are married. About 3 weeks ago, my dad booked a trip to Italy. Everyone was excited. The family group chat was lit up for days following the announcement. I called my dad and talked to him for a while, and eventually I thanked him for including my wife, who'd always felt left out. There was a slight pause and he told me that he booked the rest of the available seats on that particular flight, and there was only enough room for him, my mother, grandparents, my sister plus her husband, and me. He booked it without even taking my wife into consideration. Now, I know that a lot of people would think that it was just a mistake, but I don't think so, given the fact that my wife has been excluded in other ways before. If it were a mistake, he'd do everything he could to change it before even announcing the vacation. My heart sank. I looked at my wife, who could tell something was off, and I told my dad to just give my seat to someone else because if she wasn't included, I wasn't going. In the past, I was able to include my wife myself, but I was tired of us being singled out. They never did that to my sister and her husband. They've always included them as a couple. But when it comes to my wife and me, we've always had to figure our own way into the mix as if we weren't to be taken seriously. I'm not doing that now, and I drew the hard line in the sand this time. This man had the audacity to say that she and I could book our own flights and just, you know, meet them there. I simply said absolutely not, and then hung up. Needless to say, my wife was in tears. She was upset, but she was glad that I was sticking by her. A couple of days went by and we decided to go on our own vacation to a much humbler location, large rental cabin, with her family, who are all downright amazing. Well, my family found out and they have not stopped blowing up my phone. My mom called me one night during all this and said that I was being unreasonable and that there was no way I couldn't just book a separate flight and instead book an entire different vacation with her family. I explained to her that that wasn't the point, that the point was that they have excluded my wife from every family-related event ever since we got married, which always put me in the position to fix it. My mom basically called me crazy and that I was overthinking a simple mistake on my dad's part. For some reason, I'm starting to think that maybe I am overthinking it and that I should just talk with my dad to see if excluding my wife was intentional, which was another point my mom brought up. I can understand why I'd be the a-hole because I guess I could have taken a different route to how I reacted and talked to my dad about it first. Am I the a-hole? Well, OP, I don't think you're the a-hole. I do think that the point exists that maybe you should have talked to your dad about it. But the thing is, if it was a first timer, yeah, talk about it. Could have been a mistake, or whatever. But when it's more than once, then it's a pattern. Now, who knows, maybe you would have enjoyed the holiday or the vacation if you would have bought the extra ticket, but you would have probably just enjoyed the parts where it's you and your wife, because when your parents are around, everything is stressed because they don't want to be near your wife, and your wife just probably gets this mute hostility. So your mom is absolutely wrong. It's not crazy what you did. It's absolutely reasonable that you would want to spend the holidays with a lot of people that love you both. So yeah, not the a-hole, and good for you. Go enjoy your holiday. And what do you guys think? What is your judgment? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. No Description 2609 says, not the a-hole. If it was just an honest mistake on dad's side, why didn't he apologize and offer to fix it? No way that was not on purpose, and calling it overthinking is a pretty common gaslighting tactic by narcissists. You did the right thing, and I hope you'll have a great time with your wife's family. Yours doesn't deserve you. And OP responds, okay, so my family is well off financially, mainly because of generational inheritance. It started with my great-grandfather, mom's side, who owned a bunch of properties plus land. Over time, investments kept getting bigger and bigger, and then one of those plots of land was sold for a lot of money for suburban neighborhoods to be built. We're talking like a mile of land. My family has had steady high income ever since I was born, and I think their deal is the fact that I married a woman and we're not planning on having a family to pass down anything to. But my sister and her husband have been actively trying to have kids for the past year now, and every time they're around, my parents talk inheritance to some degree. That's just my suspicions, and my wife backs me on it. I feel like when my parents are eventually gone, crap's gonna get ugly. Sissy Cindy 109 says, not the a-hole. You are not overthinking anything. You have interpreted this situation for what it is, deliberately excluding your wife. Your marriage will last because you stand by your wife and you treat her as she's the most important person in your life. Sounds as if the in-laws are good people. Always try to surround you and your wife with good people. Maybe give your parents and extended family a good leaving alone for a while. Appletie1079 says, wow, I find it hard to imagine this was a mistake on your dad's part. And if it were, wouldn't he then fix it? Why would you have to book your own flight and then spend your holiday with your homophobic family? That does not sound fun at all. So, not the a-hole. You made the right choice. You can still have that conversation with your dad, but I doubt he will say it was intentional. You probably have to have a different conversation with him about whether he accepts your wife as family and how he intends to show that. Additional information from OP's comments. Honestly, I'm afraid to look up that flight, confirm that there are plenty of seats left, and confront him with the evidence, because what if it does turn out that it wasn't a lie and all the seats are booked? Would I look insane, or would I still be the a-hole? Anyway, we are considering just going low and no contact with them. I don't depend on them, and I'd still be well off. I literally don't even need the inheritance. Lol, my sister and her husband do. And even if we did, my wife is more important than any dollar bill ever printed, and I'd rather take that to my grave, to be honest. OP's edit. Wow, thank you so much for the overwhelming support. We went to bed and then woke up to almost 200 notifications. That's crazy. My wife and I sat down a couple of hours ago and had a discussion about what our next steps should be. We've both agreed that we're going to have a family meeting with my family this Monday and confront them head on. We feel that this is the best way to handle this situation, and we honestly just need answers directly from them. As for the comments, a lot of you brought up gaslighting and how it causes rifts in families, so we're going to learn more about it to better protect ourselves. I made a vow to my wife when we got married that I'd put her first and make her my priority, and I'm sticking to it. Again, thank you so much for all your support, and hopefully I can make an update post to fill you guys in on everything. Great wishes. Alright, well, the community agreed that OP is not the a-hole and they gave her some good things to think about, and OP is going to confront her parents. So how about we move on with the update to see what happened and how the story ends. First off, thank you all for the positivity. It's been amazing seeing so much support. We didn't post an update yesterday since it was Valentine's Day, so we're posting it today. We had a family meeting at our house on Monday, and it was interesting. I started by reminding my dad what he did, how it matched up to all the other times, how it made her and I feel, and how his and my mom's reactions made us feel. I told him that my wife is my everything and what we do together. Our marriage is just as valid. You either want us in your life or you don't, and lately your actions have told us the latter. Then I brought up gaslighting. We did some digging the previous night, watched videos and read articles to better understand it. I explained to them what it was, how they did it, and how it made us feel. My conclusion was my reasoning for planning the separate vacation with my wife's family. My sister started crying. She apologized for not saying anything and not paying attention. Her husband was upset as well. My sister said, "You have to book a different flight, Dad," to which I pointed out that it was too late. Our vacation was already booked and we couldn't bail on it. My sister said, "Well, then we're not going to Italy then. You two, Mom and Dad, can go, but we're not. I feel horrible now." Cue argument between parents and my sister. My wife and I sat there with our mouths hung open until my sister and her husband got up and left. I had my suspicions, and they were right. The reason why my wife and I were being treated unfairly was because of inheritance fears. Their explanation was that they didn't want inheritance getting into the wrong hands, so they wanted to dote on my sister plus her husband to ensure that it won't, their actual words. That right there confirmed everything, because they basically said, "Yes, we treat your sister and her husband better, and we're driving it home with the inheritance." It ended with my parents leaving angry, not at their actions, but at the fact that they were getting called out. From this point on, we will be going low contact with my parents and maybe try to amend things between my sister and her husband. We will not attend gatherings, events if both of us feel excluded. We will demand that we be treated just as seriously. We now know our boundaries and we will set them. It was a very heartbreaking experience and we were disgusted at the whole thing. We still are. Right now, we just have to take this time to move forward. I doubt we'll be able to make any more updates beyond this, but again, we wanted to thank you all for the advice, love, and support. We truly appreciate it. This was a throwaway, but I think I'm going to keep this account, but just not save the login info. Thank you so much and best wishes. Well, OP, as sad as it is to not have a relationship with your parents, it is amazing to not have a relationship with a-holes. So even though it hurts right now, good for you for doing the right thing. And apart from that, all I can say is all the best to you and your wife in the future. I hope you guys enjoy your holidays and everything else. Take care, OP, and thank you for sharing. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out, so here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later, and also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.